Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 11 of the anime series Shouwa Genroku Rakugo Shinjuu Descending Stories. God damn this show. It got me full on crying again. It just made me bawl my eyes out at the end. And it's so interesting because this was such a fascinating episode. It was so surreal. I felt almost as though I had taken a trip back in time to some point along the course of the first season of this show when Sukeroku Miyakichi and Yakumo Kikuhiko at the time were ever present, were the focused characters, the focused troupe of this series. I mean, we go all the way back. We go back to Shin and Bon, and it blew my ever-loving mind. I was just watching this, every soaking, dripping minute of it in rapt fascination. In this limbo realm where Yakumo finds himself, as of the end of the previous episode, being welcomed by Sukeroku, he has a monetary denouement on his person that is meant for crossing, for all intents and purposes, like the river Styx. You know, that kind of mythological aspect of the heavenly realm. And in this in-between realm, it's so interesting how much of it is representative of the world, the physical earthly world you leave behind. And there's almost like festival grounds and food being sold, and it's all kind of celebratory, but it's also hearkening back to the physical manifestation of what life embodies. And it's very much like something straight out of a Rakugo piece that either of these gentlemen might have performed. If it's actually maybe even hearkening back to a particular one, I don't know. But it was just compelling as all hell. And then they run into Miyakichi, and you know, we've seen them age up from children again, as I say, Shin and Bon. They are then young men again in the bathhouse, enjoying themselves. You know, Bon observes that the food has no texture or flavor or taste or anything like that, and Sukeroku points out, well, of course, this is, you know, the afterlife, or one stage of it. So, of course, there's not going to be any of that. You're just still acting impulsively, thinking of yourselves in physical terms. And so it's not really going to amount to much, because this is just a stepping stone, a stone's throw away from Avalon, from heaven, from whatever that amounts to in Buddhist culture, you know. And to see some alone time. You know, Kikuhiko has some alone time with Miyakichi, and Sukeroku is very begrudging of letting him have too much alone time. He says half-hour tops, you know, but he doesn't get all domineering. He doesn't come chasing after them when it's gone a little beyond the 30 minutes he set forth. He goes to have a drink, you know, that kind of thing. And we have some really great interpersonal, heart-to-heart dialogue between Kikuhiko and Miyakichi. She is such a changed person. I mean, she's for all intents and purposes really just a spirit. But death has kind of awakened her to just how poignant and, you know, how much more life should have mattered to her, and how foolish and selfish she was. And she can only but think of Konatsu having left her behind. Similarly with Sukeroku, you know, Sukeroku really captured my heart when he told Kikuhiko how appreciative he was that Kikuhiko never, you know, abandoned Konatsu, that he gave her a life. And it's just, I mean, seeing these three interacting again, it just warmed my heart, but I was kind of just like, watching this in amazement. I didn't really know what to make of it. And all of this, as I say, was so reminiscent of thoughts and feelings and reactions I had all through the first season. What really was the tipping point of emotion for me was when Sukeroku and Miyakichi, because of the unsatisfying of flavorless food that they've ingested and things of that sort. Sukeroku's like to Kikihiko, there's somewhere else I want to take you. And it turns out the theater that burned down has manifested itself in this limbo realm. As a result, presumably, at least that is what Sukeroku seems to be suggesting, as a result of its destruction, even inanimate objects. You run into this in certain theological cultures of the world, but even inanimate objects have a soul, have an essence. For their sheer existence, they have a being, they have a presence. And there is that idea, especially with the emotional attachment humans can grow for inanimate objects. I mean, we name our cars, things of that nature. Something that belonged to a deceased parent is so meaningful to us. It just astounds that this is part of this rapturous limbo realm. And it will answer to something Kikuhiko so missed, Yakumo so missed. And it is just being able to hear Sukeroku perform Rakugo again. Miyokichi says she wants to hear both of them perform, and she gets her wish. But what really caused my breath to get caught in my throat was little Konatsu appearing, the child Konatsu appearing on that Buddhist pillow where you could manifest the person you most dearly want to reconnect with. In this case, that you most vehemently want to experience a Rakugo performance, that kind of thing. And at first, I thought, is this who Yakumo brought, Kikuhiko brought to this limbo realm? Arguably, it was Miyokichi herself, or even perchance Sukeroku, but more likely Miyokichi. She wanted to give that blessing to her daughter. A daughter she really just, she says herself, she only now realizes she brought into the world out of a sense of revenge. But she was still always her mother, and she misses all the opportunities she now has lost because of how selfish and kind of psychotic she was. And to make up for that, whether you're accepting of that or not, I mean, she was arguably an unlikable character in the first season, but this really made me feel leaps and bounds for her. I felt very sympathetic toward her, and I just she spoke to my heart that she would call Konatsu back and share this experience of Sukeroku putting on this performance, which, after he's done, it's Yakumo's turn. And this is where we actually have him age up back to where he was just before passing away. He becomes full-fledged the Yakumo again. And this is a hall of all masters. All generations are representative. They are all remembered, and they can all put on performances. And I only have to wonder, if it were not truly Yakumo's time, would he maybe have stayed behind and wanted to experience some of these grand old masters performing? He reluctantly, though it may be, gets on stage and does Jugumo. And what really killed me was there was Shin and Konatsu, Miyokichi, and Sukeroku all together, watching and listening. It just floored me. I mean, there's so many things in my own life, the lives of my sister and I, having lost our parents early on in life, years we spent fighting to stay together when state organizations tried to break us apart and everything like that. I would eventually win out and take guardianship of my sister and everything. But there isn't a day that goes by that we don't miss those lost to us. Grandparents, our parents, friends, things of that sort. And I feel like these characters are an extended family, in a sense. it really, you know, almost stopped my heart to think of Yakumo dying, and in the way that he did, which was so beautiful. And to give him these final moments before moving on really killed me. And just as I was reeling it in again, fucking, pardon the language, Matsuda-san is there to guide him across the river. It's amazing what fictional characters can do, the emotion they can instill in you. And I really don't have much else to say other than that, without potentially bawling like a little girl all over again for this video. For those who may be upset by someone being so emotional, my apologies. I did not expect to get that emotional in this. But that's how I felt. That's very much how I felt. And if for nothing else, what I set about to do in these videos is to express the emotions, the wonder, the awe, the confusion, the anxiety, the horror, the shock, and the unprecedented joy and sadness all at once as I felt them watching these anime episodes, these shows. And what a show. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below if you've seen this particular episode of Shouwa Genroku Rakugo Shinjuu Descending Stories, as well how it left you feeling, if you felt the same, if you got emotional. Love it or hate it, anything goes in the comments below, as I always say. Just love having that conversation. And it looks full-fledged like we're going to be back in the earthly realm with Yotaro and Konatsu. And incidentally, I love when during Jugumu, you know, Yakumo mentions Yotaro and shit is like, Daddy! And child Konatsu is sitting next to him like, That actually gave me a chuckle. A little bit of a respite, minor though it may have been, from the tears. But yeah, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.